Welcome to Blooming Dandelion, where we explore healing, growing, and evolving to live a balanced and fulfilling life. I'm your host, Andrea Rivera Cazul, and each week we'll dive into practical tips, inspiring stories, and expert advice to help you bloom. Let's get started. Hello, my dandelions. Welcome back to another episode of Blooming Dandelion Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Rivera Cazul. And we have been at this for 11 weeks now. I mean, this is kind of crazy. And if you are just tuning in to our podcast, you will hear me say every week how crazy I think it is that we've gotten to this point, because it has taken years, months, and hard work for me to get to this place for myself. So we're proud of ourselves. We are grateful for this journey. We are grateful for, and when I say we, I mean me and my several personalities that I say. But I am super grateful for each and every one of you for tuning in, sharing my podcast, sharing my YouTube episodes. I think it's so important that we as a community stand up together and just unite, and y'all make that accomplished, or make it an accomplishment for me. But anyways, let's jump in. I hope this is not going to be a super long podcast episode for y'all, but we're still going to do our run-of-the-mill activities. We always start with the bloomin' soil. Bloomin' soil. The bloomin' soil, the highs and lows. Wow, this week, I don't even know what date we're on. That's kind of chaotic for me today, like this whole thing. I will say, as time has gone on this past week, there has been a lot of conversations within my own mind and just checking in with myself. I've done a lot of TikTok lives this week, but I'll get to that point in a minute. But essentially, the 1 year anniversary of my grandfather's passing is quite literally on the date of this episode. And it's been tough. I think grief, the way that everyone has spoken about grief and how it is so impactful for different reasons, and grief never leaves you. It honestly, somebody explained it as like, obviously this person is gone and now you have to live a life of knowing they're not there, and that pain, that's the pain that always like resurfaces and hurts. Oh my God, I don't want to get emotional already, like 3 minutes into our episode. But I think that with this whole year of grief, it has allowed me to see a lot of things clearer, a lot of things in a different light. Honestly, I think grief catapults you into a different frame of growth. And it's tough to navigate that. It's tough to navigate that by yourself. And I think that it's really important to not navigate it by yourself and to find a community and find people around you that support you and that can ground you. Because I think loss in any form is hard to come by and to experience. I think loss at any age is hard. I have experienced loss at different times of my life, but I think this is the second time in my life where it's this impactful, and it's tough. It's truly not easy, and I know that grief is never easy. Death is never easy. But I think sometimes it's a little bit easier when you know that you can say, oh, well, it was my grandfather. They were at a certain age, and they're not in pain, and you can rationalize those things. So my heart goes out to the folks that can't have that have to go through grief in the form of resiliency and survival, and I hope that they find comfort in knowing that their pain is seen and that it's valid to go through these emotions. But that's my soil of this week, is literally just me being not in a slump. I've not been in a slump, but I think I've just been more so gravitating towards the fact that a year has come and gone, and I think it encompasses like my big move happening in like a couple weeks too, and so much has happened in this place that I lived at with my partner, and there are layers to this that I think, as someone who, I think anyone would find ways that things connect and impact you and all that stuff, but I think for me, even after my DV situation, I have found it a lot more sentimental during like certain episodes, or not episodes, but during certain chapters of my life. And I think it all has to do with the fact of survival. So I think that there's always emotions attached to these big situations going on in life. And I think, again, everyone has these big emotions. They don't have to go through trauma to experience them. I'm just equating that for me. But yeah, my high of the week, my bloom this week was being able to get on live several times, but on top of several times, being able to get on live with a digital friend of mine, because we have not met in person. We live in different states, but the fact that we were able to get on live together and share a space of similar stories, of similarities, of the reasons why we create TikToks or create social media posts. Why do we create content? I think it was grounding. It was a much needed conversation, and I have this conversation with, loved ones and friends as well, and being able to broadcast it on live and feel so connected with someone that you've only exchanged a couple of words here and there. It's amazing. It's amazing what social media and what the internet has gone up to. I think back to dial-up days of listening to the phone dial, internet dial-up, and having to wait to get on to the internet. And it's just crazy. It is insane how far we've come. But those are my bloomin' soils. If you want to share your bloomin' soil, please comment down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, hey. If you're listening to our podcast on any other social media platform, comment on one of our posts on Instagram at Blooming Dandelion Podcast. I want to hear more about y'all. I want to hear your stories. I want to make this as an immersive community as I can. I listen and I read everything that gets commented, posted, or whatever, even if it's negative. I believe in constructive criticism. Unless you're being a bully, then bullies, fuck off. I don't believe that any bully should be here in this space. I want this space to be a space of bravery, valentia, right? Bravery and hopefully openness and warmth, and a place where we can all feel seen. Even if it is me, talking about my stories, I hope that we can expand this. And, I am creating a lineup of folks that I can come and bring onto our platform. But until then, I want this to be just a safe space for us. And safety is crucial when it comes to us being very honest with ourselves and our feelings. So, anyways, let's get into today's podcast episode. Last week, it was all about another guided meditation, which I hope that you either got centered, that you were able to fall asleep to, that you were able to just really zone in and focus on yourself. A lot of times those guided meditations will come useful whenever you feel stress, whenever you feel heightened emotions, anxiety, and it's just good to have in the back burner. I'm not the only person that does self-guided meditations. There's so many apps out there. I mean, Spotify has a trillion of people doing self-guided meditations specifically because their center of focus for their platform is meditations and yoga and all that stuff. So if you are looking for more concrete stuff, I think there's plenty of things to do, and I will find some and tag them at some point to share with y'all. But this week, we are talking about honoring your body and self-care practices for our well-being. So there's a lot of connection. I like to say that there is a fluidity when it comes to the way that I post episodes and the way that I connect how the week is going to go and all that stuff. I want to make sure that it is just, it's free-flowing, but it also makes sense. It's cohesive, that even though sometimes I can ramble, I get to the point. I promise. Sometimes I struggle. It has been a thing that I've been working on, but I guess a rambler is a good idea for a podcast because you can talk to the walls. But yes, we're going to talk about self-care. We've been talking about self-love, the self-love journey for the past 30 days. We're finishing it up now. And I think it's so important that you understand that self-care practices should be aligned with the self-love journey. And it's crucial to our everyday routine. Whenever you start feeling like you're going to the doctor and the doctor's telling you, oh, well, you need to exercise, you need to move more, you need to do all this stuff, that's all a part of self-care. We're not even going to equate anything to the scale. We're not talking about losing weight, anything like that. We need to focus and recenter our mind frame on what it is that is going to bring me joy, that is going to bring me fulfillment, that is going to make me feel like I am strong, the best version of myself. And self-care is necessary. It is necessary for anyone that has a busy routine. From a stay-at-home mom to a CEO of a company, every single person needs self-care. Okay? Not even a person, if you are unemployed right now, you need self-care. Okay? You are worthy of taking care of yourself. And if you hadn't heard that, I'm going to say it one more time. You deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve the right to have moments of self-care and self-joy and self-love. Okay? So do it. So we're going to talk about why self-care is so important, right? Self-care is an important practice because it consists of recognizing your needs and meeting them. All right? Your needs and meeting them. You have to calculate what those needs are. Taking a proactive approach to tending to your well-being can enhance many areas of your life. We already know that because we've been doing self-love, but self-care involved. So self-care may promote physical health. Yes. For me, I go to the gym. That has been a part of my self-care routine. I love it. I love walking. I love being outside. That is a form of self-care. So your physical health, number one. Number two, it can enhance mental resilience while encouraging self-compassion. Okay, taking care of yourself while you're feeling burnt out, while you're feeling anxiety, while you're feeling all of these heightened emotions. And if you've never watched Inside Out, please go watch Inside Out and Inside Out 2. Because honestly, the emotions just put it into the perfect mind frame of what could be going on in our mind, okay? Number three, it might improve mood. Hey, there are days, this morning, I was not going to go work out. I was not going to. I was literally just in a slump. I felt like I had a migraine coming on. I had slept horribly. And after icing my neck and my head and all that stuff, I said, okay, I've had enough time. I slept in some more. Now I can go and do whatever I was going to do in the gym. And that's okay too. Even if you had put your alarm clock at 6:30 in the morning, you can snooze it. You can snooze it, and you can have some flexibility with your calendar, with your time. Because sometimes we can be rigid, very rigid, with time constraints. I know I struggle with letting go of time because I want everything timed out perfectly. So when something overlaps with something else, I'm like, done, get me out of here. We're late for the other thing. I haven't even gotten here. No, take me out. I don't want to be here. So I totally understand. I'm here. I'm with you. I'm going through the same things as you are. It could reduce anxiety and help manage stress. Hi, I have anxiety and stress. And so I need to take care of myself. Again, you're going to hear all of these topics as an underlying and crucial point of self-care in general. So if you hadn't heard it by now, get to be comfortable with these words. Self-care may boost productivity. Didn't I just say that I took care of myself this morning? And then I went to the gym. And then literally the day flowed so well. I was productive all day. Whenever I have those bursts of energy, it just goes boom, 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 boom. And I love it. I absolutely love when I get to be productive and when I feel my best self. But when I feel my best self is when I take care of myself. It's making sure that I'm showing up for myself. Okay? And you need to do that too. The guilt, we gotta let it go. We gotta let it go. There is no guilt to be had while you take care of yourself. And if you are the person that is responsible for your family, if you are the caretaker, if you are a mother, a father, a single father, whatever you are, whoever you are, you still need to take care of yourself. You still need to know that it's okay to put pause on something, on a project. Maybe a project isn't working. You can step away. You can step away, gain clarity, and ask for help if needed. Okay? There's nothing weak about asking for help. Asking for help is a strength. It is such a superpower for you to be able to understand and get clarity within yourself and say, I cannot do this alone, and I need desperately somebody to hold my hand and to be there for me is important. So, we are going to talk about essentially, obviously, I'm going to go back a little bit. Did you know? Because I didn't know. And I love when I get to find out new things. But did you know that there are 8 areas of self-care? I didn't. I was always like, okay, mind, body, soul. That's it. 3, mind, body, soul. Like mind, I take care of my mind by reading a book and by listening to podcasts. Hey, Blooming Dandelion podcast. I listen to music so that way it inspires me, but that also nourishes my soul. My soul gets fulfilled when I'm with family, when I'm with friends, when I go on trips, and my body is fulfilled whenever I take care of it, whether it's resting, getting a massage, going to get a pedicure, or anything, right? I thought it was mind, body, soul. No, there are 8 self-care areas. So the first one is physical, obviously. And so we exercise regularly, eat well, get enough sleep, which I struggle on the sleep part. And I know you do too. I know it. I know you do too. The emotional part, you process and express your emotions in a healthy way. Some of us struggle with this part, and it's okay. We haven't been taught about our emotions. This now is when I'm seeing a little bit more comfort level, a little bit more understanding of the emotions and like how everyone gets impacted differently, and just having that emotional intelligence. Before, it's not that it was taboo, but it just wasn't talked about. At least I didn't hear about it. I didn't see it as relevant as it is these days. And I'm so happy that we're talking more and more about our emotions and how to stay present within ourselves. Social, cultivate and maintain healthy relationships. Hey, some of us will say, I'm not social, I'm an introvert and all that stuff. You still need some form of communication. And even if you're an introvert, you might be a person that likes online communities more, someone that appreciates, a texting relationship and not a front-facing one. And sometimes you just need to warm up to people, and that's okay too. All right? Intellectual, keep learning and challenging your mind. I have said this so many times, I'm gonna literally come closer. I think the day that you cease to exist is the day that you cease to stop learning. Or that you stop learning, not that you cease to stop learning. The day that you stop learning is when you cease to exist. Because you start getting comfortable in your little silo, in your bubble, and you are so rigid in those ideas, in those ideals, and you say, there's nothing else. I know everything. How could you possibly know everything? I can't fathom living a life where you believe that you know every single thing. And I, as an avid people pleaser, but even before then, as an avid person that would go toe to toe and argue with my father because both of us were smart asses. We are smart asses, but both of us are smart asses, and we literally bicker and fight because we both know that each other are right. It's important to have these constructive conversations and to just also be humble enough to say, I didn't know that. I did not know that. I'm learning, and thank you for showing me a different way or a different lesson that I didn't know that I can be exposed to now. So be humble, and it's okay if you don't know something. We're not supposed to know everything. That's the adventure of life, is learning something new every day. Spiritual, explore your faith or your beliefs. I know many of my friends, of myself and all that stuff, I think a lot of us have struggled with faith or any type of belief system. I think struggled with religion, struggled with how religion shows up in our life. Some of us have religious trauma, and that's okay too, to unpack that. But I think it's one of those things that you have to know what is the part of your life that is affecting you and what you need to take care of. Environmental, taking care of the environment around you. So the environment doesn't have to be just outside. It can be the house, your room, right? When I get into depressive episodes, the house is a mess. I don't clean. I lay in bed all day, and that is like a constant trigger that I'm like, oh, Andy's feeling sad and doesn't know how to get out of the rut. How do we get her out? And I have to make an action plan. I have to create plans of saying, okay, well, I gotta clean when somebody's around, or when I feel like I have plans and all this stuff. You have to organize your mind. Just organize. And that, just saying just organize can feel daunting. It can feel dismissive for folks that feel as if they struggle, right? They struggle with these things. And so please note that if you are struggling with this, maybe having a conversation with your doctor is important too. If you have a primary care or a specialist regarding something specifically, I think it's really important that you talk these things out, because I had to. I started the conversation by saying, I'm stressed and I cannot sleep. And therefore, by me not sleeping, it's affecting my job. It's affecting my relationships. It's making me anxious. It's making me bitter. It's making me, like, it was just like train tracks. And that's all you could see. And we are finding solutions and we're finding out what's best for me. And, but you have to advocate for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to be the person that says, I'm not doing well, and how do I get out of this, even if I need to ask for help. Again, asking for help is so crucial. Financial, money, managing your money. I know we have struggled. I have struggled. Hi, me, yes. Money is a struggle for everyone at this point, I would say. I think that the economy right now is just in its worst place for so many of us. And I mean, I live in Boston, around the Boston area, and rent is astronomical. I mean, you cannot pay rent and pay for everything else and expect for you to have any form of a social life. And so how do you take care of yourself when it comes to that? Vocational, pursuing career interests that fulfill you. This might be one of the best ones that I'm so happy that somebody wrote it and I took it and I'm saying it right now here with y'all, because vocational, I think people forget how important your vocation is to you and how it affects every single other thing. If you are not happy at a place and you are not accepted in one place, you will not succeed. You will not. You will get bitter. You will get angry. You will get anxious. You will start doubting your abilities. And why would you do that when they selected you in the first place? Right? You have to think about all of these things, and it's a lot of fucking pressure. It is tiresome to think about all of these things and be like, how the hell do I take care of myself? But here's a little bit of how you can take care of yourself. So you have to figure out a form of self-care that works best for you, right? So I gave you 8, and of those 8, you have to figure out what are the maybe top 3. Select a top 3 right now that may be affecting you. And if you don't have a top 3, that's totally fine. If it's just 1 that you have, 2 that you have, whatever number that you have, if you are struggling in all of these, write something out for yourself and create a plan for each one of them. And then as you look at that list, create a priority list. Okay, is it my mental health that needs more help? The social activities, the vocation activities? You have to decide that. You have to set goals. Setting goals is a way to stay consistent and motivated in your path of self-care. As the 30 days of self-love we've done, you can do a 30-day self-care routine, right? Create a day that you're doing, okay, I'm doing self-care today. What is self-care looking like for Andy today? Andy today wants to eat a new recipe because she saw it on TikTok or she saw it on YouTube and she thinks that's delicious. That's a form of self-care. Nourishing your body with whatever it is that you need to get done. Prioritizing activities that make sense for you, that you enjoy, is so important, because it doesn't make sense for me to be here preaching at you and talking at you and telling you, oh my goodness, go to the gym, work out, do yoga, do an art class, do a strip class, whatever. And you be like, I don't like any of those things, Andy. I'm gonna look crazy. So you have to decide on things that you like to do. If it is that you don't have any hobbies, create a hobby list that you want to try out. It's totally fine to figure out, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, it does not matter. You deserve time off. You deserve a time for you to spend time with yourself and have that time be sacred. If it is that you're waking up earlier so that you can go on a walk, if it is that it's time for you to go to the park with your dog, take care of a cat, I don't know, anything that serves you and gives you purpose, that is what you have to create. You can listen to every influencer, every pop star, and hear their ideas and be like, why is this not working for me? It's because you're not connected to it. It's because you don't like what they're doing. And that's okay. You do not have to be like every person out there. With all that, you have to create a routine. A routine will help you guarantee that you'll be successful, right? It takes, I think it's like 3 weeks, 4 weeks for things to become a habit. And so if you want to create new habits, right? So many of us start off the year being like, oh, I have these resolutions and I'm going to do this, this, and this. But we don't create a game plan. We don't look at our current schedule and say, wow, I have to get a babysitter for this, or I have to also be the caretaker of my mom and also go here for my class. And if you don't look at your schedule and build it up for your success, then there's no way that this routine or this game plan will be successful. And that has nothing to do with your lack of motivation or you not wanting to do. No, you can be as motivated as you want, but if you do not have the time or the dedication to do it, then you're going to struggle. And then that's going to set you back because you're going to feel like you are inferior, that you feel like you're struggling. And so that means that this isn't for you. I promise you can be a part of the self-care journey. You just have to create a list of things, goals, and then schedule it out for you so that you can see it and you see how time management works for you. And then the end all be all is tracking your progress. Tracking your progress can be the best motivator out of everything. And I want to say this. Some folks will struggle with seeing any type of tracking, right? I think, and I say that as a tidbit because a lot of us will mainly be like, well, my self-care is that I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to lose 100 pounds. I'm so happy that you said that. I'm so happy that that's your plan, that that's your dream, that that's what you want to do. Number one, why is that your goal? Number one. Number two, you need to set aside and say, will it deter me seeing every week if I do not lose any weight or if I didn't gain any weight? Whatever that journey that you're on, I don't want you to get to a point that you feel like you are struggling. I don't want it to get to a point where you are seeing the progress notes and you feel like, damn, it's not progress. Why are we plateauing? Why is this not moving? Why is this not doing this? Why don't I feel any better? I promise you have to stick with things, okay? It has taken me years to do the self-care, self-love routine. I've done it. I've fallen off of it. I've started up again. I've fallen off again. It's been a yo-yo. It's been a yo-yo. And that's why you have to create a game plan of understanding what will best serve you. So I'm going to run through this quickly. You have to create goals based on your time constraints. Your quick self-care is something that you can do between 1 to 10 minutes, right? What is something that you can do between 1 to 10 minutes? You can stretch. You can make a smoothie. You can sit on the porch and listen to a guided meditation. There are a lot of things that you can do 1 to 10 minutes, right? So if it is that you're just doing a quick self-care, you have to write it in. Just be like, okay, I need a quick self-care before I head to the gym, or I need a quick self-care before lunch because that was a really hectic meeting, right? You have to decide when those quick self-care moments are needed and necessary. But have that in the back of your head. Self-care does not need to be 2 hours, 3 hours, a whole day. It can be 10 minutes. It can be 2 minutes, okay? So your mid-level self-care is going to be your self-care that consists of a 20 to 30 minute break. All right. So you had the quick, which was 1 to 10. Your mid-level was 20 to 30 minutes. So what can you do in 20 to 30 minutes? You can meditate. Now, I would struggle with meditating for 30 minutes because I feel like my brain starts to talk at me and gets distracted, and it's a losing game at that point. But there's a lot of things that you can do for 30 minutes. There are 30-minute classes. There are 30-minute podcast episodes that you can listen to while you're on your bike. You can go for a walk. You can literally go to the mall. Whatever self-care means to you. You can look at your finances if that's a financial goal. Look at that. There's a lot of things. Now, your longer term self-care will be anything that has hours of commitment. And I often say that your longer term self-care can also fall under the luxurious self-care. And your luxurious self-care will be kind of like the pamper and retreat or a vacation, because that takes money, that takes time off, that takes time away from your life, okay? And so if you are looking for that longer self-care because you're like, wow, I've been working for 3 years straight, I have not taken a break, I am burnt out, I am tired, I want to solo travel to this place, I want to see a concert in Paris, I want to, whatever the case may be. If that is where you fall, take some time to do those little mini self-care moments and look at your finances. See how things can benefit you in the long run, and also make sure that you can take care of yourself. For me, my goal this year has been, I'm going to go back to Puerto Rico in December, whether anyone likes it or not, no matter what, because I want to reconnect with family. We recently had a birth in the last 4 months, and my nephew is the most gorgeous piece of heaven that could exist. And I know that my self-care is that I'm missing those moments, and I want to be there, and I want to be present for that child, and I want to be present for my cousin who just had that baby. And so being able to get on a plane and go, I want to be able to do that and be able to take my vacationing away from Puerto Rico too, because I have not vacationed anywhere else. And so those are goals for me. So those are my examples. But I would say just give yourself a timeline. No timeline is wrong, okay? If you're telling me and you were to sit down with me and say, Andy, my timeline is 2 years. That sounds great. What are you going to do in those 2 years though? You need to create gaps in those 2 years and just say, okay, in these 2 years, I'm going to do this. And 2 years might be a little bit too long to be viewing things. You might be getting distracted because you're like, I got 2 years for that. I would say the same thing about 2024, but here we are. It's September. Huh? So you have to start small. Start small. Small is okay. There's nothing wrong with starting small, so then you can grasp onto bigger projects, bigger ideas, bigger goals, okay? You have to get comfortable with doing the small stuff. This literally reminds me of a conversation that I had with my cousin and my aunt earlier about being able to go to a restaurant by themselves. They were like, oh my goodness, it's so hard. I could never go to a restaurant by myself. And I'm like, I also thought that for so long. I thought for so long that I should be ashamed or worried about what people would say if I was sitting by myself at this restaurant. Who cares? Who cares? But that takes time. That takes time to get the backbone and to get the gall, the audacity, the everything to just stand up and say, I'm gonna go to my favorite restaurant and I want to get my favorite dish. And company is great, but sometimes my own company is all that I need. And if you put on your headphones and listen, if that is your date night for yourself and you are listening to music, a podcast, like drawing at the dinner table, who cares? Who cares? You have to make life enjoyable for you. So use those things that I've mentioned as a way to concretely look at everything that is finishing up for your self-care, self-love. And again, you have to double check, or not even double check, but you have to make sure that you remember the reasons why you started it. Because if not, it gets diluted and lost. And so I don't want you to get to that point. I do want to offer a little bit of a reflection before we wrap up, or not even a reflection, but we have wrapped up the 30 days of self-love, which is so exciting. I hope that you can always go back to Instagram and view the whole self-love journey and understand the why, because these are our final days, and I want to have a little bit of a reflection of 2 seconds of how it went. I think for me, as the person that created and wanted to have a 30-day self-love challenge, I even found some days that were challenging for me. And you have to not answer those questions, but answer whatever doubts you have for yourself and say, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I overwhelming myself? Why did I start doing this? Understand your why, your purpose, which is, I think, tying back into my bloom of this week of being able to talk to someone who had similar wants and desires this year and isn't taking no for an answer. And I want to say that sharing your journey, sharing our self-love routines, self-care routines, is a form of active resistance. It is a form of true self-care and self-love, being able to show yourself that love and tenderness, and also understanding that sometimes the way that we have shown up for ourselves is the way that our inner child needed to see ourselves or see an adult show up for themselves at that point in time. And so there are layers to a self-love and self-care challenge, or a self-care journey, but don't hold yourself back because you simply believe that you do not deserve it, or simply because you feel like you don't have the time. Make time. Make the time. Okay? And this isn't about a workout, this isn't about anything. Make the time to check in with yourself, to make sure that you're doing okay. Make the time so that later on you are not running out of time. I hope y'all have an amazing start to September. I cannot believe that we have made it to fall. And I hope that you continue, that even if the cycles of change are coming, that you keep on blooming with us here at Blooming Dandelion Podcast. See what I did there? Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Blooming Dandelion. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Follow us on social media on Instagram at Blooming Dandelion Podcast for more inspiration. And remember to keep on blooming. See you next time, dandelions.